had Orsino send Viola back to court Olivia, and that whole plot deepening. And then we've had Sir Toby, Sir Andrew and Fabian really looking forward to this, and in comes Maria and tells them that the game's on. So the first thing to note is that Maria's pretty much in charge. She's designed the trick, she's thought it up, she's written the letter. Now she's telling them, she's giving them all a ringside seat in the box tree so that they can watch. And a question we might come to later is why don't they just why are they watching? Why doesn't they just have them come in and find the letter, etc. But anyway, main thing is the amount of control Maria's got. And she throws down the letter for him. In comes Malvolio. And he is talking to himself. Maybe in one production I've seen he was pretending he was with Olivia and had his arm around her. But at some point he's talking to himself. How do you want to do this? He's kind of daydreaming aloud. And I would like to come back to features of non-naturalism. This is not a realistic scene. And might think of a few more of those at the end. So in he comes saying, oh, it's all in the stars. It's done to you. It's your fortune. Maria told me that Olivia did fancy me. Oh, and she seems to have said. So he's going through it. Yeah, I really think Olivia is interested in me. He is convinced himself that that Olivia must be interested in her. She uses me with a more exalted respect than anyone else who follows her. That's his attempt at logic. But then again, he is the top servant. So that is what's going to be true. So he's logicked himself into the fact that Olivia must fancy him. And then we have our on-stage audience here. They have a little conversation. We know that we know what's about to happen to him. It's a bit like watching someone walk into the room when you know there's a bucket on top of the door, which I personally have never seen. But it's that we know he's about to walk into a trick. And here we are with the trickers. We can hear their jokes. We're in it with Sir Toby, Fabian and Sir Andrew. And what's interesting is Toby's number one complaint is this person's too big for his boots. He's overweening. He's a rogue. He's not a gentleman. He's a nobody. And he's aiming too high. How dare he aim so high? I'm the knight around here. So it's a kind of class, get back in your proper place, is his first comment. And Malvolio's knew his fantasy. So I think Malvolio's fantasy, he starts outlining his fantasy or his daydream here. I'll put outlining dream here. And it starts here with the fact that he's Count Malvolio. That is the main thing he wants. So it's not really the love of Olivia. He wants the power and the wealth of being Count Malvolio. And we're still pretty mean. If we think someone wants to get married in order to get richer, we're still pretty mean to them. Some people might call them gold diggers. And I think this daydream goes all the way to here. All of this is him outlining this gorgeous fantasy he's got. So he's Count Malvolio. And I'm just, oh no, I'm going to put a different colour. Ooh, I like that colour. We'll have some purple. Here we go. We have these repeated interventions. We've got repeated comments from everybody else watching him. So, and you can imagine the audience laughing their head off at these comments. So I just fancy, there we go. That's the onstage audience commenting for us. and mainly telling each other to be quiet most of the time. And we almost here have a conversation with Sir Toby. I won't do rings all the way around. Interspersing, it's almost like they're talking together, but Malvolio can't hear Sir Toby. So get me back to the actual outlining of the dream. Get me that nice pink one again. I preferred that one. So to be Count Malvolio, and then he starts thinking, well, this isn't an outrageous dream. It's happened before. There's an example of it, the Lady of the Straight Tree marrying her yeoman of the wardrobe. This sort of thing's gone on. So he imagines they've been married for 3 months and he's sitting in all his wealth and in all his comfort. And he calls his officers around me. That's in him, the next thing. He calls his officers, and he hasn't just got a gown on, it's made of velvet. And it's not just made of velvet, it's got sleeves. So this fantasy has got real detail. He's had this fantasy a lot. So he's sitting in this velvet gown with sleeves, and he's come from a day bed where Olivia's sleeping, and that's her only appearance. His daydream is not about spending time with Olivia and how lovely she is and how wonderful it would be if he was with her. No, she's asleep and the wonderful things happen without her. So after a demure, so looking around the room, traveller of regard, so he's got his officers, his servants around me, and what does he want to say to them? I know my place as I would they should do theirs. So he wants to put them in their place. That's his dream. We'll have all these servants and I'll be able to tell them I know my place and they should know their place. I mean, the cheek of it. Anyway, then he sends them for his kinsman Toby, and this is the word that really annoys Toby. Kinsman, my family member. I've married his niece. He's my family now, and that is very, very distressing to Sir Toby. So he's back. We're back in his daydream. Seven people. They don't just jump up, which is very nice anyway. They jump up, but they jump up obediently and run off to get Toby as soon as I've said it. It's that kind of power that he wants, and he plays with his jewel. Toby approaches. This is a big deal. Who goes to who? You might have seen it in The Crown. The powerful person stays still and the less powerful person visits them. So Toby approaches and curtsies there to me. This is outrageous. So he is now Toby's superior. I put my hand out, quenching my familiar. I don't agree. Smart Notes made it friendly, but it's actually from family, isn't it? So you know that I'm a familiar of his. I'm in his family. With it, I'm not smiling, and we're laughing along with Sir Toby. He can't hear. Doesn't Toby take you a blow of the lips then? So doesn't he hit you? And I say, Cousin Toby, my fortunes, not me, but my fortune is written for me. Having cast me on your niece, give me this prerogative of speech. So we've got this big word, prerogative. It's his right. He has the right to speak now. And the thing he would dearly love to say is, you must amend your drunkenness. So his whole fantasy is his control, his power over the servants, his ability to get Toby, who has got to curtsy to him, and he's got the right, the prerogative to tell Toby what to do. Last time, I'm putting it in here. Oh, I've forgotten which one it is. I think it's Act 1, Scene 5-ish. I'll put ish there. Last time we saw him tell Sir Toby to amend his drunkenness, he was laughed out of court. Sir Toby said to him, are you any more than a steward? You know, who do you think you are talking to me? And now all his fantasy is, well, I actually have got the right now to tell you to stop drinking. It's almost like a revenge fantasy, but careful, but don't use that exact phrase. So his fantasy of now being able to say these things to Sir Toby is what I wanted to say about. So yes, all his all is fantasy. It builds up to this great last line, this punchline, you must amend your drunkenness. It's nothing to do with Olivia at all. So, and Toby does respond to it in these class-based terms.